Yeah, Jeff, you're still.
Good.
Sounds about right. Continue.
All the burrito.
It's a big burrito if it contains multiple shovelfuls.
Shoving, not shovel.
Shoving.
That'd be kind of a crazy burrito, though. Do you get burritos like that? Is that a Texas thing?
The giant burritos as big as your forearm.
Yes, the shovelable burritos.
Yes.
Yo, those are amazing. I'm extremely jealous of you people for having them.
A long weekend with Desert Bus going on right now.
Long weekend of what, sorry?
Desert Bus for Hope is this week, so it's been eating up my time watching it.
I don't know what that is.
Like that
Oh, are you in for a
Twitch
treat?
stream, yeah. Oh yeah, it's great. They play like the worst video game ever and just do random stuff for charity. Bunch of like voice actors and
like
actors and
Extra
improv
Life?
people.
So it's like Extra Life except worse?
No, it's so much better. That's the thing. Somehow it's better. I think they're up to about they're
So they
almost up to
just drive on
300,000. Yeah, they play like this game called Desert Bus that was made by Penn and Teller back in the 90s for like Sega something or other that never actually got released. And it's literally just driving a bus from like Tucson to Las Vegas in real time. And if you get to the one point without crashing, you get 1 point. And all you do is go forward. You have to keep your hand on the button to go forward, and you have to keep it in the road because it like the alignment leans slightly to the right.
It varies back and forth, if I understand it right.
Yeah. That's basically it, though. There's nobody to pick up. You, even though there's bus stops, you can stop at really quickly and open the doors and close them and then just keep going. But that's basically all it is. 8 hours it takes.
8 hours.
Testing?
That sounds terrible. Hey.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm like watching the stream right now and I'm like, why is this a game that was ever made? Why?
Because Penn and Teller.
Yeah, because
I'm
Penn and Teller
so
wanted to
sorry.
get back at Janet Reno for saying that video games should only be helpful to kids and give them like useful skills. So like,
So
what's
they
more
made a
useful than
video
learning
game
how to
that
drive a
was-
bus actually?
So they made a video game that was helpful to no one?
Basically. Or get the monotony of an actual job instead of the fantasy that is video games.
I question whether that can actually be called a video game.
It's called
I
a simulator.
really-
Exactly.
Does it meet the qualifications for being a game?
You can do stuff occasionally, you do get points.
Yeah, you get points, so it counts.
I think for a game, it has to be intended to be fun.
Does it?
I disagree with that definition.
Intended, not effective.
Diplomacy's a game.
Intended.
I'm pretty sure diplomacy was never intended to be fun.
Point taken.
Yeah, almost to 300k, it's crazy.
I can't believe people have donated 300k to watch these people play this fucking game, though.
It's that.
I
It's like
can.
call-ins from like celebrities in the nerd group. They have like live auctions and giveaways for cool things, and they do a lot of like improv games. They're all actors. They're fairly well known on Twitch.
Huh,
It's for charity, so
Yeah.
that's true. That's fair.
They've been going
long as
nonstop
it-
since Friday morning.
As long as it's, for the kids.
Oh, the chillins.
Exactly. All
so
right.
somebody made a VR update to that game too, by the way.
I have it. But yeah, sorry, game.
Game. Yes. So I dropped the Wild Places map that I promised you guys like a month and a half ago into Roll20, and it's just up there for you to view if you want it. But yeah, other than that, it is game time, my people, party people. So, what's a quick recap of what we did last time? And quick reminder that you should all be level 5 now. Is anyone not level 5?
You know,
Sorry,
just because I
updating
screwed
my
that up one
cantrips.
time.
It wasn't just that you forgot to level, it's that you started 2 levels below everyone else.
And I was still helpful.
You were.
Well, yeah, part.
It was just you started. I don't know how you missed that, but yes, everybody's level 5.
Yeah.
Dope. So, somebody want to give a quick recap of what occurred last session?
We pushed a bunch of people off the ledge.
Yeah, we took out the big corrupted Warforged, and then found out all of the other ones had ran away.
Avoided being
After.
crushed by the meat grinder.
Yeah. We recovered the Nock series, but pretty much everything else is gone.
There's some more. There's a couple thousand that are still in that room with the Nock series.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So you're not totally out of Warforged, just severely understrength. Strengthed?
Well, there were originally like 10,000 in inventory, right?
Yeah.
And we've accounted for like 2,500 tops.
1.5-ish, yeah.
And we went and recovered, the rest of the Nox series, and that's the last I remember.
Yeah, and we said that we didn't want to try tracking them underground.
Yes, there was some discussion about that because they did leave some lovely big holes in the walls of the storage area.
Yeah, the plan there was to get some more explosives so we can collapse those tunnels too.
Yes, indeed, it was. So, given a couple of days, Monarch can scrounge up some stuff, but he needs some time. So, yeah, that's about all that happened the last session, I believe. You fought the meat grinder. You discovered the missing Warforged and met the Nock series. A plus. Sorry. So we left off with you guys just having found the Nock series. Minok and Binnock have taken most of them away. So surveying the rest of the underground area, you have about 1,500 Warforged remaining. and all of them currently are deactivated in the storage area. You have, I believe, about 100 activated up above as well. So you have enough for a small garrison of Warforged currently, plus some use of them outside once you have them all activated. Garrett and Martin and Gawain have gone off to investigate the storage area on their own. What would you guys like to do?
That is an excellent question.
Yeah.
Yes, as memory serves, there was some debate about what to do at the end of last session. But you've fought off any immediate threats to the island. There's nothing immediately trying to kill you.
Well, that's always nice.
It's a plus.
If I recall correctly, there was a lack of food, though, as an issue.
Yes, there is currently not enough food. You have a week or so of food. You have a week or so of food for the sharks and for yourselves, but beyond that, Gawain has tried to pitch to you at one point. Gawain tried to pitch to you at one point the idea of just letting them pirate their food. If memory serves, you were not in favor.
I think there was a lack of ships was the main reason to...
Yeah, well, there's one ship. It's not very good, but it is a ship.
We may now be capable of enriching whatever land is left here.
How long would it take to turn the land into farmland?
It'll take 8 hours to enrich all the land in the immediate area, but
significant amounts of time. The island is mostly just bare rock. Like, there's no soil to be enriched right now. Like, there's a reason the cultists were shipping in food while they still lived here. There's nowhere to grow it at the moment.
that's not
Like,
the
it's not
machine
a-
farmers.
No, it's not a matter of it's not a matter of there being somewhere to grow and it not being good. It's a matter of there's nowhere to grow things. The other option on that, if you wanted to try and grow something, you can try and extend underground, and grow something like break open a cavern roof or something, find some sunlight and some fertile ground, or just grow some mushrooms. But there are many things underground.
Yeah, it's a bit of a high risk option. Okay, so we could pirate food, we could do that. We could possibly buy food if we had something to sell.
What would be the closest?
I'm
one
trying to
trade?
brainstorm here. That's part of the problem. We really don't have, like... We didn't find, like, a bunch of gold down here, either.
Hmm.
I mean, like, short term, we might be able to get some more help from the church, but I doubt they'll be able to provide long term.
That's what I expected out of them, honestly.
Would the clerics have like create food and water at this point?
Maybe.
I mean, I think some might. Honestly, good berries from the druid would probably be more effective.
Yeah.
I think it's a 3rd level spell, which is...
Yeah, non-trivial for these people.
Yeah,
Um,
whereas good berries first level and will provide for at least 8 people.
Yeah. Um. hmm.
Assuming they're even berries.
Yeah, Garrett's staying, and she'll have enough spell slots to Goodberry for you. Create food and water also spoils after 24 hours, or the food does. So that's fun. How far does 45 pounds of food go? As far as like number?
Pretty far.
15 humanoids for 24 hours. So let's say because Martin, you guys were split earlier on the idea of leaving Martin behind to stay, right? Or having any church
Martin
presence.
was the paladin commander.
Martin is the paladin commander, yes.
There was some concern about would he be a team player because Paladin. But he seems cool now that we've worked with him.
Yeah. Because he asked you guys at one point for permission to stay, and he'd probably bring a couple of clerics with him, clerics and paladins with him. So let's say between the clerics and paladins that Martin brings with him, and Garrett and the couple of druids that she's going to bring with her, you guys will have sufficient food.
Okay, so that's not a long-term solution, but it means we're not.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to bring morale up or anything, but it also means that nobody's going to starve.
Okay, that's a starting point.
Yep.
I think if we want to do, and I kind of want to do the piracy option gives us options, especially if we target the cult. And gives us the best way to gain assorted resources. But to do that, we need more and better ships. So I think the easiest way to do that, to gain new ships, is to steal them from the cult. Because, we're already pirates.
I mean,
it's the same skill set we already possess.
Yeah, you're not wrong, yeah.
What is pirates?
That's like the cue for a musical number right there.
Pirates who don't do anything. Wait, this is going full critical role now. We're just.
Well, there was also that there was an island that it looked like the corrupted Warforged might be heading to. That had a bunch of cult activity. Ukari.
That sounds very targety.
Yeah, so like we could load up the ship with a bunch of the sharks. Go raid it.
Yeah, it's got a Bacardi.
And depending on like what we find there with the cults, we could possibly even send the sharks back with a full boat or two of loot while we investigate stuff, and then steal a cult ship ourselves and leave.
I'm liking this plan.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what we find there, obviously, but seems likely that they'll have a ship or two there, assuming they are actually there.
Yeah, if there aren't any ships, we can pretty much rule out them having a presence there.
I mean, I think we still need to investigate, even if there aren't ships, but maybe then we send the blades on to go raid somewhere else while we investigate. Or sharks, I mean, not blades, sorry.
Alright.
Yeah, let's do that.
Alright,
So what
so
all
you
are the
want
little
to
islands between?
Sorry?
What are the little islands like between? What kind
The ones
of?
with the towers on them?
Hmm.
So those are just smaller islands. They're smaller islands that have a settlement, but aren't necessarily big enough to be included on major maps.
Okay, just want to be sure.
So there's some group of people lives there, but it's not a stable settlement. Like people are still fighting over it, or something else is going on that makes it not big enough or notable enough to map, more or less. Besides saying there's something here.
The Bucharati then?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Bukhari means I need to get a different notebook. So I went and got it. So, you want to go to Bukhari. That is cool. I like Bukhari. Just as soon as I can find where the fuck my notes on it went.
We do all enjoy Bacardi every so often.
All right.
To say, I don't think I've ever taken notes on it.
Someone's a connoisseur.
More an amateur alcoholic.
Alcoholics go to meetings.
You're not wrong. An amateur drunk, then? I don't know. All right. Alrighty. So, Bukhari. Cool. Okay. So, you have a destination in mind. So, Bukhari kind of refers to for quick background info, Bukhari kind of refers to the whole island, which is sizable, but it also refers to the this big set of ruins that sits in the middle of the island. I can't remember if I've told you this or not before. Have I told you about this island before?
Mentioned it briefly.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we went into any detail.
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, there is half of this island is a desert, and in that desert there is a big ass set of ruins that are very well treasure hunted. Let's say they kind of serve as almost a proving ground for a lot of adventurers and a lot of treasure hunters before they try and venture to more difficult places.
Umberlee be cursing everybody.
Basically. So there's the big set of ruins there, and there's several legends around the city that used to be there. But then there's also several smaller towns, bigger towns, smaller cities that are along the edge of it that supply them. And then there's also a town on the coast as well. Just for a brief rundown of the island. So yeah, that's the island that you guys have picked. Would you still like to?
Absolutely.
Cool. Alrighty. So yeah, you've picked your destination. I like it. So, more immediately then, what do? Do you want to spend the night at the island? Do you want to go right now?
I think if we haven't gotten a long rest, we want one of those.
Probably a wise choice, yes.
And we'll also need to speak to the various captains and figure out how we're gonna split up who's staying, how they're gonna do rotations on watching the new barricades, which of course have to be turned into actual barricades at some point.
Right.
So divvy up those kind of things, and generally have that planning meeting.
Okay. All right. Long rest first, though.
After probably bugging Garrett for some more practice, then yes.
Poor
I
Garrett.
think we did that last time, though.
You did, yes. Poor Garrett.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you practice more with Garrett. Okay. So you head off. You take a long rest. You wake in the morning head down into the factory again. Monarch and Garrett and Gawain and Martin are all there discussing. And they look up as the group of you enter. Hello. Please, come.
Raised eyebrow, sit down.
I have been discussing with the others here. I have a request.
What is it?
I can create sufficient explosives to seal the tunnels, but it will require materials that are vital to the running of the factory. We are regardless short on raw materials. I wish to request that we acquire more. The Lockling family, who created us, had contract with the Greatbeard clan of dwarves for provision of raw materials and maintenance in exchange for protection. We request that you find the Greatbeard clan and reenact the contract.
I look at the other people. Have any of you heard of, or any of you familiar with the Greatbeard clan?
Garrett and Martin both nod. Martin steps up. It's a clan of dwarves in the mountains in the Sinaraja jungle. They export some to Enrin, actually. We buy armor from them on occasion. But they're, well, they're not always the friendliest bunch of people.
Just to clarify, was this like mob style protection or regular style protection?
We do not understand mob style protection. They provided us with raw materials. In exchange, we provided them with warforged soldiers who guarded their quarters and tunnels.
Do we have Warforged to spare?
Not currently.
Do we have the materials we need to reactivate a significant number of Warforged?
Yes. Given time, we can reactivate sufficient warforged to garrison both this facility and the Greatbeard clan. That will, however, leave us with insufficient warforged to perform significant action beyond the island.
When you say given time, assuming no other interruptions, how long do you think it would take to get? Well, first, how long would it take to get enough to garrison this island, and then how much longer to garrison what the Greatbeards were asking for in the last time you sent?
We estimate 2 weeks to garrison this island, and perhaps 5 to garrison the Greatbeards as well, assuming no further interruptions.
Yes.
Also, what sort of supplies are you looking for from them?
Metal, mostly. Crafting materials, some alchemical components which cannot be found on this island or under it. There are many things which cannot be found here.
I mean, to some extent, some of this stuff might be able to be gathered by the sharks as we hit Bagari.
Probably, and doing so is good, but I don't see that will never be a sustainable supply. It's always going to be haphazard.
symbiotic partnerships yield better in the long run.
Yeah, but for symbiosis, we need enough to send. And first priority is activating enough to get the garrison going. I don't expect to be gone more than 2 weeks on the next thing. So why don't we get that going and see where we are? Do engage in planning for activating more Warforged, though.
Of course. We assumed that the expected course of action would be continuation of activating others.
Did you say how long it might take to get to the point where a proper contract could be created again?
The
I thought he did.
idea is yeah. So the Warforged exist; they're just not active right now. The Warforged that could be sent. Monarch is basically positing to you guys that the contract, should you guys provide sufficient Warforged to the Greatbeards, then the contract will come back into force.
Which I understand is not crazy talk when with dwarves.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it not a
not out of the
matter
question.
that we don't have enough to send?
Well,
to
yeah,
them?
that's the other side of it. Like, we don't want to go to them unless we can fulfill our end of the bargain. I mean, we could renegotiate when that happens. We want to be able to show up saying, okay, you used to give us this for that. Here's our end. Are you willing to keep this up?
Potentially a partial deposit, is it called? Or more later.
That's an idea.
With materials, they get more later.
Well, right now we don't have anything to send anyway, so.
We would not be required to send Warforged immediately. It would be polite, as I understand it, that to send word ahead before to ascertain that the contract is still valid. It has
Go ahead.
It has been approximately 1100 years since delivery was last taken from the clan.
So, like, what, 10 generations?
Active.
I'm sorry, I probably missed this. Where are they? The dwarves?
They're, see those mountains in the middle of that big fucking jungle?
Gotcha.
They're there. They're basically, they're in the mountains just above this river mouth, just above where this river comes out of the mountains. So they send ships down the river to the sea.
Are there any currents that we should be aware of as far as the sea/oceans go?
That's an oddly specific question, but yes. So there are some outlet currents from Sinaraja. that do affect like along the edge of the island. There's also so the Forestall Strait has two major currents going through it. One of them goes basically west to east, and the other one east to west. And so those are like those are the major trade routes, but those are also the currents that are very heavily watched by pirates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of a myriad of smaller ones that go through the islands on the south side of the strait, but they're smaller and they're not necessarily as well mapped.
Okay.
Do they have a copy of the contract?
We do. It is etched in metal.
Were
It
any
is a
of your kind ever returned?
no.
Then, if they are still in service after so long, that is a potential in for negotiation or removal if they do not agree, because that would be a what's the term for this? I'm trying to the contract would no longer be valid if they were providing, but we're not providing, but we're still taking.
That's a point. So do we want to go there instead of Bacardi? Bukhari, sorry.
No,
It's
it's
always
fine.
Bacardi.
I think it's hilarious that you guys have just automatically renamed it Bacardi.
It was
It
Bacardi
has
and
a
then
long-
chorizo.
It has a long and distinguished history, but no, it's become Bacardi now.
Never challenge us with vaguely similar names.
It wasn't meant to be one.
It's what happens, David. It's what happens. Just let it happen.
Okay. So yeah, you guys have a sizable number of options for where to go. It's just where do you want to go?
How long would it take to go visit the dwarves?
Hmm. I'm gonna call that week and a half sailing.
So a week and a half to get to
That. Yes.
Sinharaja. Another week to get up into the mountains? Or yeah, probably. Maybe less. So we're looking at 2 to 3 weeks just to get there.
So the whole idea of what the Great Beards do is that they're situated where they are so they can ship stuff down the river. So you can take the river up to go see them. Like it's a bit of a hike from the river mouth, but it's maybe a day at most.
Okay. So call it a couple of weeks. Let's go see them a couple weeks back. I don't know. Do we want to go do diplomacy or go explore some ruins?
In order to gain longer term resources, perhaps starting to talk sooner rather than later.
I don't know.
Again.
Personally, I'm in favor of going to Bakari. 'Cause it's not just about what we gain, it's what our enemies get out of it. Both the Rot and the cultists are going to be in Bakari, probably, from what we can tell.
There will be little defenses from enemy until a strong central area can be formed. Little resources do not make for a good symbiotic relationship for you for this place.
That's actually kind of low on my worry list because the Warforged are pretty dang tough. Outside of the corruption, I don't. Once the garrison is going, and that's 2 weeks no matter what we do, I have a feeling they'll be able to keep this place safe for themselves. Well, the other way to look at this too is, can we send someone else? Because we don't have to personally do everything ourselves.
Yes, but will they expect the keeper of this place's contract to negotiate again?
Have to see the actual contract.
I mean, I would imagine if it's just a question of asking, will they still honor it? We could send somebody to do an initial query about that.
Yeah, and if they're not, we can at least get the nature of their objection.
Yeah, or like if they want to engage in negotiations, the person just be like, I'll have to ask, the people in charge, and then we can come back and finish up the negotiations.
Yeah, I do like that plan the best, though.
Sending somebody to see if
Make
the
initial contact at least.
Or as Monarch said, another way of sending a message ahead. Though we only know how to send the animals to do so.
I'm not sure an animal messenger is really going to work because we're going to need the response too.
If you want, Martin will step up for a moment. If you want, motherfucker, I knocked over my microphone. If you want, I can go visit them. It'll mean I'm not here to supervise any barrier building or anything, but we have our order buys armor and arms from the Greatbeard clan. We have a good business relationship with them already. I could go to them based on that.
That would be extremely helpful. Shit. How will we get him there? Yeah, first things first, we need a ship. Another ship.
Well, I mean, we have our ship, and then the paladins and the clerics came on their own, right?
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Kept thinking there was only one boat. But if he's willing, we would be very appreciative if he would do that for us. I think the between the sharks and the Warforged and everyone else, we have enough expertise to build walls.
Fair enough. I'll want to. I'll make a brief stop in at Enrin to pick up some documents, and then I'll head back. I'm going to have to.
Okay.
We have to bring several of the members of our order back. Regardless, not all of us can stay here, so I'll bring them back at the same time.
Okay.
Martin nods and goes to organize his.
Okay, we should probably get loaded up to travel to Bukhari with the crew that's going to be moving the other ship around, doing their thing.
Sounds good.
All right, sounds good. So, Gawain briefly approaches you. Do you want me coming with you, Captain?
Where do you think you could do the most good?
Out on the waves? We're privateers, sir. We'll be most good to you out on the ocean with a ship underneath us. You don't mind me saying.
I don't mind at all. Yeah, I need you on this just to make sure that when we can get a second ship if the opportunity shows up. That is kind of a priority at this point.
Righto.
Just make sure whoever you leave behind can handle that role as well.
Of course. I'll leave Carwin behind. He's good for this sort of thing. But I'll go get them organized on barricade building and make sure that we're ready to go when you say the word.
Very good.
All right. So Garrett, or not Garrett, Gawain and Martin are both off getting organized. Garrett is mostly just sitting and listening for the time being. Let's see. Yeah. What do?
Really nothing more for me to do until we leave.
Yeah, same.
Cool. Oh, Garrett's eyes pop open and she goes to chase after Martin very quickly. Man,
Watch
if
that
y'all.
carefully.
Oh, she's just going to ask him to ship some of her druids back to Enrin. But if y'all are ready to go, then let's. Later that day. Time skip. Later that day, Gawain is loaded up on the cargo ship. The sharks are ready to go. He's taking half of them with him and leaving the other half here to hold down the fort, quite literally. He's ready to go whenever you guys are. Martin hasn't quite left yet. Sadok, before he leaves, he pulls you aside for a brief moment, asking to talk to you.
All right.
Are you all right with me taking this trip, sir?
Of course.
All right. While I'm back, I'm going to report to the rest of the church. Is there anything you'd like me to say in particular? Anything to emphasize?
Just the potential threat of the rot.
All right. If all goes well, I should be back on this forsaken island in 3 weeks or so, hopefully. Hopefully by then you'll be back too.
If all goes according to plan.
Yes. Hands guide you, Snoke.
And you?
All right. Martin's on that note. Martin will head out. You guys are ready to set sail? We shall set sail. So you slide out from the hidden harbor of the Visharad and back out into the Four Skull Strait. It's a much less full ship this time. There are far fewer sharks and far fewer people crammed in it. And the sharks are competent enough at running a ship that you guys can sit back and just relax a tad while you're sailing.
Stare off into the ocean.
So I have a question for you that Gwen will also raise with you guys in character. So there are several places to land in there's one major place to land. There's several places to go on the island, sirs and ma'am. There's that's fair. There's the big coastal town over here called Shanbar, and it's the major port for things coming in. But it's far away from any of the ruins. It's furthest away point on the island. There's the two coastal towns, which are Katuif and Kotan. Katif, and Kotan. But they're a bit trickier to land at. It's a bit of a walk. And then there's the ruins themselves, which are
Damn it, you beat me to it.
God damn it. That's not even how it's spelled, but fuck it.
So many settlers of Catan.
It's Catan now. Fuck the Middle Eastern naming theme. It's Catan now. All right. And then there's Bukhari. And there may be some. If the cultists are trying to be sneaky and they're interested in the ruins, they may be trying to land somewhere along the desert and just go directly into the ruins, or as directly as you can. But there's no established ports out there.
Well, since we're not there to do trading first and foremost, I have a feeling announcing our presence by showing up at the main city is going to be a bad idea, or at least counterproductive.
Okay.
So it's really, do we want to do the village, or do we want to try and sneak in the back?
I mean, I'm thinking the village because we'd want to see if anybody's noticed cult activity. Be good to talk to people before just investigating the ruins ourselves.
Makes sense.
Alright. So, north or south village? Or let me put it in a way you might understand better. Catan or not Catan?
That is the question.
It is. It is indeed.
I'm going to say Catan just because we'll remember that more easily.
I mean, okay, I can't really fault that reasoning.
It's spelled close enough, or it sounds close enough.
Catan. Yeah, I guess. I guess I need to like find another group of nerds to run all my place names by.
I
No,
don't think you're going to be able to do it without having them be accidental references.
Maybe. We'll see. Nah, Khotan is a brick port. No sheep and lumber trading there.
Fuck.
So no wood for sheep? I mean, what?
Those are
Nobody,
right with the dwarves.
nobody wants your fucking sheep.
What is this, Wales?
It's worse because the sharks are supposed to be Welsh.
Oh, that's great.
It's like nudge,
I'm
nudge. That's
literally-
nostalgic, right?
I'm literally pulling the names for the sharks that I use off of like a list of Welsh names.
Are we going full like King Arthur type thing? Because I heard Gawain.
Yeah, his name's Gawain Prothero. That is, I am assured, a Welsh name.
It's Welsh.
Not Gawain, but just Gawain. Um,
Just more institutionalized racism against the Welsh.
oh, the poor Welsh. We give them such a bad rap. All right. So Khotan, the brick port, then. All right, Catan it is.
Yep, that's the decision.
Alrighty. So I'm gonna call sailing to like south side of Bukhari, down here. Let's call it 3 days. I squinted and hummed and hawed and came up with 3 days. because map scaling is very hard. But yeah, we're going to let's head to Catan. So you have 3 days of travel time ahead of you. Is there anything in general you guys want to do? Like just during your downtime, is there any downtimey things you'd like to?
Practicing those rituals or practices that
You
Garrett
are
taught.
on the ocean. That
Yeah.
might be.
Or at least the motions. Or finding the zen.
That's fair.
I'd probably participate in the sailing just to get them, just to keep my hand in, and just to get them used to me being able to give naval orders.
That's fair. That is. You got to make sure they know who the boss is or such.
Well, also they got to know that I do know what I'm doing.
That's fair.
Also, after last time, we'll probably
they
keep an eye out for changes in the weather.
Yeah, is there any unnatural weather?
Roll perception.
Oh,
You see no unnatural weather changes. No.
okay.
All right. You are heading closer to the center of Yualia, though, and that means magic does occasionally get a bit
Magic does occasionally get what?
fucky.
Okay.
Yualia has.
Is that a technical term?
Yes, in fact.
In formal mage speak.
In formal mage speak, magic tends to get a bit fucky. No, Yualia has a lot of wild magic floating around its less civilized parts, and kind of the center of shit. Actually, did I ever show you guys the full world map?
I don't know.
I think not.
Oh fuck. Okay, 1 second. It's in here somewhere. It's not like fully textured or anything, but I should really show this to you. It's very crude. It's kind of crude, but Aventine sits roughly around here. The Sinaraja and the jungle on it are here. The ocean that you can see the southern tip of is like this area. The Four Skull Strait and all its islands are here because it was a giant pain in the ass to try and replicate them all by hand. Warrian Kingdom's over here. Helgi Domer, which is where Flint is from, or Cristona is from, and where that slave Bauer briefly had is from as well. Then Central Yualia, which is here, is kind of the center of wild magic in Yualia. It's where things get the most fucky, and it's where most people don't ever come out of if they go in. So Bukhari is kind of pretty close to the. Bukhari is pretty close to Central Yualia, so magic does get kind of fucky there sometimes.
So, shit's fucked. Got it.
Yeah, shit in there be fucked. Try not. There's there's a note about Central Yualia in the intro thing I gave you guys. And then, the wild places are labeled as the wild lands in this map. They're like a third of the world where just nobody knows what the fuck's there. So that second map I made and gave to you guys this session is a partial map of that area that that Trinity created and that they're using to navigate basically. Any questions?
Not at the moment.
Okay. I'm gonna take the continued silence as a no and just go back to the much nicer and much more textured other map. Alrighty. So yeah, you guys have 3 days of sailing. Sidok, are you doing anything over the trip?
Nothing in particular. Just helping out.
Okay. Bauer, you doing anything in particular? Right on. Alrighty. So, y'all are heading into Catan. Kristana,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing magical-ish things on the boat. You roll a d20 for me.
Okay.
Cool. Everything seems fine, but you occasionally have the once every couple minutes or so you have a feeling that somebody's just tapped you on the shoulder, even if no one is around.
Pause, look around.
All right. You eventually make it to Catan without big incident. So Gawain navigates you down towards Catan, and then basically starts looking for any sort of inlet or shore where they can easily take the ship in. Failing that, he's more than happy to just put you guys over the side in a rowboat and go looking for cult ships.
Rowing for cultists.
Basically, he's got the flag that they were flying up and everything. We're more than ready to take one.
Do we have any way of contacting him if he leaves us?
You do
Animal
not.
messenger?
Other than the animal messenger, I suppose.
You can send a bird with that?
Yes.
Alright, that should be good enough then. So yeah, I think just dropping us off and going to find cultists on their own sounds fine.
All right. Sounds good enough. We'll. I think we're gonna do a sweep around the eastern side of the island. If I were a sneaky person, which of course I have never had occasion to be in my life, mind you, I'd dock as far away from everybody else around as I could. That means east side of the island.
Should we plan to meet on in the North Village in like a week or so, assuming we don't message them earlier?
It should work.
Sure.
Or I guess if they have a reason to leave quickly, they can drop somebody off in the North Village to let us know.
Sure. We'll do our best not to do that.
Yeah, I'm mostly just thinking if there turns out to be more cultists than they planned for and they bite off a little bit more trouble than they can chew.
True.
How does one eat trouble?
One bite at a time.
Just blink, blink, blink.
Good life philosophy. Deal with your trouble one bite at a time.
That should be on a t-shirt.
Oh,
Got a dragon on it.
as someone who stress eats, I feel that so.
Damn, now I want some ice cream.
Actually, speaking of life philosophies, I came across one earlier today that I was rather fond of from a
Go ahead.
explosives disposal person.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
Somebody was asking him like, isn't it so stressful doing that? He says, no, we'll see if I get it right, then everything's fine. If I get it wrong, it's not my problem.
Yeah, that seems. That seems fair. All right. So, they drop you. The sharks drop you close to shore. One of the sharks rows you in, and then rows back out to the ship. Which, come to think of it, doesn't have a name currently. Do you guys want to name it? Do you want to just leave it Gawain to name?
As that wasn't
The ship is named Harm's Way.
All right. All right. Yeah, I can get behind that. Harm's way.
I enjoyed recently in Critical Role they accidentally stole a ship called the Mist and then they renamed it the Mistake.
That's terrible. I love it.
Accidentally stole the ship.
Yep. They're pirates now.
Fabulous.
For no reason too, it's amazing.
Fabulous. All right.
I still want to know how you accidentally steal a ship.
You can watch it.
You
There's
just
a lot of
the ship-
backlog to go through.
the ship just pulls you onto it. It makes you steal it.
And then casts the lines off itself and then unfurls the sails. And it's just like,
Oh yeah.
That's what happened with the ghost poking.
It was the ship poking you. Yes. Harm's Way already has a club outerman.
Exactly.
Alright. So, on to Catan. So, you guys head, it's a few hours walk in from the coast to Catan. And so, as you get closer to it, you can start to see the edge of the desert as the grassland gives way to it. And Catan as a cluster of tents and buildings set up along the edge of it. There are some permanent stone buildings that hold the more sizable shops that cater specifically to the treasure hunters heading in and buy the treasures from the ones coming out. There are more that cater to the people who actually live here. There are a lot of tents set up with people hawking their wares and everything as well. Most people here are wearing some manner of long robe to cover them from the sun, which is significantly more intense here than it was even just on the Visharad. The overall atmosphere is very loud. There's a lot of people here. There are a lot of people trying to sell you things. People are clamoring to sell you swords, armor, grappling hooks, lucky trinkets, everything that you can imagine an adventurer might need. Especially a young, gullible adventurer. There's a sizable market for lucky charms here.
They are magically
You
delicious.
swear you see a short man with a green coat and lots of buckles selling them. As he is chased by a swarm of children, you hear him scream, "Oh, they're after me, lucky charms!" As he disappears between two houses. Around the center of town, there is a small oasis. Floating above the water, there is a shimmering, crackling space of distorted air that people and their animals all seem to know to get a wide berth from it. But occasionally, it sparks and pours out another bunch of water. Refilling the oasis. Every time you pick up a thing and fumble with it a little bit, the merchant whose thing you pick up looks at you and says, "Oh, you like it? You like it? That's amazing! Here, Come, 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 look at all of my wares. I've got things you wouldn't believe. And they basically try and give you the hard sell.
Christina might just like actually take it to heart and just be looking at everything individually until someone pulls her away.
But yeah. So, you've entered Khotan. What?
How big is this island? Like, if we wanted to walk across it, how long would that take?
A couple days. Shanbar to Ketui for Khotan is 2 days. Khotan or Ketui into Bukhari is maybe another day. So call it 3-4 days to walk across the island total. Like if you from like farthest tip to farthest tip, maybe 3-4 days.
Okay.
And at least part of that's just because half the island's a fucking desert.
But we don't need to like invest in camels or anything, just sunproof robes.
Sunproof, a lot of water. Make sure you have something that's not going to spoil. Make sure your food's not going to spoil from heat. That sort of thing. That's not to say that if you wanted a camel, you couldn't buy a camel. There are many camels to buy, including some camels who have been trained to pull a cart, should you so desire. But the walk does not require a camel, no.
What other kinds of animals are around here?
The glib answer to that is the desert kind. Give me 1 second. So you got like camels, lizards, a few snakes, centipedes, some scorpions, some beetles, vultures, a few jackals, a few like fennecs and that sort of thing, smaller mammals. There's no none of the bigger predators go this close to a town, so you don't see any of them. No like hyenas or anything even.
Like a decent amount of birds or anything like that, aside from vultures?
Sorry?
So like vultures are the main birds?
Yeah.
So what are we searching for here, Digoroy?
Well, supplies first. if we think we need anything. After that, rumors and information.
We can possibly talk to the animals if they have seen the symbol for the cultists.
That would be extremely helpful.
Is there any churches in the area?
Yes, actually. Bukhari is technically under a theocracy. So, yes. You can definitely find a a Blessed Hands group here.
All right, I'll wander into that while Christona talks to animals, I guess. See what I can find out from them about any possible cult activity in the area.
All right. So you head in and chat to them. The local pantheon is mostly under the trio of Isis, Osiris, and the Set are the local trinity.
That's not a comforting combination.
Yeah, they're not exactly the nicest of people.
I'm only familiar with the actual Egyptian one. So Isis and Osiris shouldn't be too bad, right?
They're not bad, they're just both death gods.
Isis isn't a death god.
She's magic. She's the one who brought both Anubis and Osiris back to life. She's Osiris is very much the god of the dead, and Set is the war god.
Yeah, Set's a right bastard.
That's a
Osiris
mild
is a god.
understatement.
Yeah, Osiris is a god of the dead, but he's more of a lawful.
He's a good god of the dead, but
Is he technically good?
no, he's the ruler of their gods, except for unless when Ra is,
Yeah.
because it's like 6,000 years of history, so it's confusing. But
Isis is neutral good.
no, you just don't find her being very popular in places where things are hunky dory.
Fair. Well,
I mean, if they're worshipping Set, it's probably not hunky dory.
No.
Bukhari
That's the most worrying of those.
Bukhari is many things, but it is not a place that most people would describe as hunky dory. Like it's ultimately part of the mythology behind like the ruins of Bukhari is that it was once like this great city, this hub of culture and magic that essentially died. No one totally knows why, but it just collapsed one day. And so the whole island has kind of been shitty since then. If you're interested, I can type up the full thing for you at some point.
So many understand the respect for death here.
Indeed. Indeed, they do. But yeah, rumors and supplies. There are positively oodles of people looking to sell you supplies for your trip into the desert. I don't think any of you have gone desert exploring before, unless somebody's out to spring a surprise on me.
I think the closest we got was that one spot where things were mostly dead and the druids weren't there anymore.
Yeah, because it doesn't sound the sort of thing I would have done much of.
Yeah. So, for those of you who are going to get supplies, make me a quick survival check to see how much you actually know about what you're going to need for this trip. Because there are a lot of people trying to sell you a lot of things.
Well, that was a crap roll. Oh well.
Got the
I got you,
survival.
some happiness.
Do you have expertise in survival?
Yep.
Wow.
Why?
Navigating is survival.
Oh, true.
We're just all
True.
shit at this.
All right. So, like, realistically, you could probably get into the desert or get sufficient supplies to the desert. You managed to dodge the absolute, thanks to Diggeroy's guidance. He's picked up a couple of things over his years of navigating. He knows a few things about surviving in places with low water.
Because seawater doesn't count.
It does not. You are correct. So you get off without the worst of things. Like one guy tries to sell you basically a platoon's worth of camels to carry a shit ton of water into the desert for you. And you manage to avoid buying 12 camels for the four of you. But you do buy a little bit more. You do end up buying a little bit more water than necessary and a little bit more rope and tenting and stuff than is strictly necessary as well.
We're a lot more water than necessary since Kristona can make it.
Almost certainly. So call it 12 gold apiece to get ready for Bakari.
All right.
Alrighty. So it's early afternoon right now. Do you want to start marching now, or?
Actually,
Did we
yes.
get any information about possible cult activity?
Yeah, there's got to be a drinking establishment that we can gather around.
There are several drinking establishments in the city for you to gather information at.
All the water holes.
Quite literally. Alright. Give me 1 second. So you have quite a selection of places to go to. You have the Violet Whistle, the Fancy Stars, the Laughable Snake, the Misty Sword, the Gray Crew, the Dusty Sailboat. Um, the Gray Crew, not the J Crew. Any of those sound appealing, or do I need to get some more for you?
Let's go with Dusty Sailboat.
The Dusty Sailboat it is. All right. True to their name, they have a sailboat that is dusty from sand sitting over the door. It's still afternoon, so they're not quite full yet. But there is what looks like a half-orc woman minding the bar, who looks up and nods at you as you come in. There are several other adventuresome-looking fellows who are scattered about, chatting excitedly to each other with beer in hand. Reasonably low ceilings, nice big open windows in this place. The half-orc woman nods at you. What'll it be?
Rum, if you have it.
We got enough sailors here. One rum. What the rest of you?
I'll do the same.
2 rum.
Water.
Fair enough. What'll the prettiest of this bunch have, eh? She says, looking at Bauer.
I already ordered.
Mr. just blinks and looks between them.
Strictly with her eyes.
I'm just doing Bauer saying no touchy, and then Kiristo just blinking, wondering if he's getting poked by invisible things too.
Strong silent type, huh? Beer for you, I guess. All right. She rummages around, pours out a bottle of rum between the two of Diggeroy and Sadok. Gets a glass of water and grimaces at it for Christona, and pours a frothing big stein of beer for Bauer. And hands it to him with a smile.
Estelle will just take a drink, and once she wanders away, just kind of blink at Bauer. So when are you going to continue your half of the mating ritual?
Oh no.
Or Or has she not supplied you with the correct item for such a thing? Looking at the stein.
The way you're describing this, it super sounds like Christona learned everything about dating from dating sims.
Animals, kind of.
Damn, I didn't give her the right gift. There, you can find a table and have your beers. You want to listen in on these people at all as they're chattering amongst themselves?
Of course.
Alrighty. So, a lot of these, roll. Sorry, I'm sneezing a bunch right now. A lot of these people are chattering. Roll perception checks, all of you, to see what you can distinguish from amongst the noise. Alrighty. So, all of you hear at least a few of the old legends about this place and some of the things that happened here. There's some of the ones that come up are there's a legend about a jinn that lived in a lamp, about a band of thieves that once lived here, about a heroic sailor that sailed the seas and had many wonderful adventures. There's several different stories about why the city itself basically just fell overnight. They range from disease to act of the gods to one person who positively swears that this is truth and that he's seen the story in the ruins. Claims that the ruler of the city back in the day sold the city to some extraplanar being and gave it to him to keep forever in exchange for making sure that the city would be immortal in story. Explorers who come from the city have some stories about loot that they've found, from gold to jewels to some of them have found some old magic stuff. Are you guys looking for any particular kind of tale from these?
Would it be more like we're looking for people who might have seen like the symbol of the cultists? Because we have that like T thing, right?
Anything that might hint at cult activity would be our main, aside from just general knowledge.
I mean, some people have seen some weird people around the ruins. Most people out at Bukhari tend to camp in like collective campsites, just for safety and security. But these people, nobody seems to see them sleep at night. Do you show anybody the Trinity emblem?
I wouldn't. Because then the cult will know we're looking for him.
All right. So yeah, there's just some. They tell some stories about some weird people who are poking around in the ruins that don't seem to be a part of any organized group. There's no overt stories of magic rituals being done on the sand, though. Besides a couple of very out there people who claim that it's directing them towards great treasure in the ruin.
Great treasure trademark.
All right. Well, we can be pretty sure that the cult is out there, but they're not using, at least not this town, and probably not any of the others. Then, which means they have a camp somewhere.
This is what we wish to speak to the animals about. Possibly the vultures or the foxes. Those who go out into the desert further.
We should definitely ask them. Yes. Once we head out, which we probably want to do actually fairly soon, because twilight is the best time to travel in the desert.
And let us know when all are ready, because we must find something to give the animals for help.
I think I'm about ready.
Yeah, I mean, you've been here for a couple hours listening to these stories. It's sun will be setting soonish.
And hearing that, just be like, just flat tone plain. Then we will go search for a carcass. And just stands up.
You do that.
I love how accepting you guys are of Kristona's weirdness. Just as a side note.
I'm as surprised as anyone, honestly. Start heading out, searching around for any sort of like dead animals on the side of the streets or something like that that are around the outskirts.
Roadkill.
Yep, exactly. Literally roadkill. That is absolutely what she's looking for.
You don't have to look very far. This is not a clean place. Within maybe 5 minutes of wandering around, you catch the scent of rotting flesh, and find yourself a dead dog being picked apart by a couple of children in an alley.
Just casually walk up to the kids. May we have some of that? Just pointing at the dog.
One of them turns and looks up at you suspiciously. What do you got for it?
Let's arch a brow at that. Got.
Trade. Are you dumb? You want this, you gotta give us something for it. Something good. Something tasty.
Tasty. That's like pondering, thinking, looking into bag. I think someone. Let's see. I pull out like a ration, like a couple rations. Think to yourself, Diggeroy, explain this to me, and kind of like pulls off a bit of the rations, put it away for part of it. Your children are too fat.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that for me? Did you just call the children eating a rotting dog in an alleyway too fat?
No, she said their children are too fat. Just going based on what Diggeroy said to that guy when he was haggling.
Oh, God. What are you talking about?
Is this not how one haggles? That is how Diggeroy taught us.
We don't. It's just. The kid just walks up to you and goes to grab the rations out of your hand as he's like walking past you.
Let them have the rations.
Sorry?
Just let them have the rations.
Just take the dog.
A pleasure doing business with you. Just give this like slight smile.
The child extends a single finger.
I'll just copy it. The haggling is complete. Diggeroy should be pleased.
Yes, make sure to tell Takaraya when you get back.
We are learning,
no.
and starts taking the dog carcass and heading towards the outskirts.
Oh, no. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
I've been waiting a long time for a perfect opportunity to do that.
Oh, God. I'd forgotten about that whole interaction. Thank you for reminding me. All right. You take your dog carcass, pick it up, and start heading towards the outskirts. No one bats an eye at you. or not at the fact that you're carrying a dog, anyways. Uh, you make it up to the outskirts without further incident.
Hooray! Once they're keeping away from anybody around, probably. Gonna look for some vultures.
All right, there you can find some without too much difficulty.
I'm just gonna do the ritual for spirit animals.
Sure. The vultures notice your chanting and your dog carcass, and a couple of them come down to examine it. They kind of cautiously look at it, but don't dig in.
Just finish the spell and look over at them and kind of take a couple steps back respectfully. This is a gift. We would like to ask you for information, please.
One of the vultures looks at you with its beady little eyes. What kind? The other one looks at him. I bet it's the rotting kind.
The rotting kind. And I was like, yeah, it was a question. That was like uptick. Nothing.
The best kind. The kind you can eat.
We understand. This may be true, but may not. We wished to ask if you have seen out in the desert any of the two-legged creatures like we who may have had this symbol on them or anything with it, and then kind of moves over to the sand by the dog, like next to it, and like makes a little sand drawing of the symbol.
One of them peers over at it. The other one starts trying to dig into the rotting dog. The one that looks at it, looks like. Something? Way other side of sand.
Other side of sand, and a point in a certain direction, like down by the ruins. That way?
Like, he's pointing roughly this way. He turns his head and kind of stabs his beak in a direction. Ah! That way!
Do you know if they were on the other side of the broken rocks?
Yeah? Yeah. the dog now? He's getting the good parts.
Just simply, do you know approximately how many of them? And then the dog is yours.
Many.
Many. Give a nod at that. Thank you. Enjoy.
He immediately turns and sticks his beak into the dog. Starts digging around in it.
Just leave them be and start heading back in to find their others.
They are still at the dusty sailboat, I believe.
Probably.
Just walks back into the tavern. Still might have some like dog carcass on her hands.
Yeah, you probably got a bit of dog blood on you. You did carry it halfway through the town.
Yep. Sit back down with the group. The vultures told us there were cultists on the other side of the ruins. And just point in the general direction that way.
Any idea how many?
They could only say many. Vultures cannot know specifics that well. But many was told.
So more than a vulture can count. Right.
So, like, 5?
Yeah. But they said they're on the other side.
Yes.
Well, that's good to know. Anything else we want to do in town before we head out?
If you wish to haggle here, we have learned a new trading symbol. And then hold up the finger.
It takes him a minute, and then he starts chuckling at you.
Your teachings came in useful before I found the vultures. We.
Did they? You can tell me on the way.
Just blink at that, but give a slight nod.
I want to get going before it gets cold.
Agreed.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I assume our supplies included better clothing for the desert.
Y'all get some sweet ass robes to wear through the desert. Cover you up, make sure you don't get horribly sunburnt. That sort of thing.
Horribly sunburnt, the dark-skinned elf. Well, with the
Hey,
vitiligo.
skin cancer is still a problem for dark elves.
Well, she's already got like fungus coming out of her skin, so.
And if you get skin cancer, it won't be able to grow there.
No.
TLDR, don't get skin cancer. Um,
Don't be failing.
okay, so you set out into the desert. As the sun is going down, the temperature is dropping rapidly as you do. As you begin your trek into the desert, sand shifting under your feet, climbing dunes. Yeah, Diggerai can probably navigate by stars.
Pretty good at that.
Make a quick survival check for me. Just to make sure you're going in the
I
right
can
direction.
probably help with that.
Yeah, go
Please
ahead.
do.
Oh, also just that.
Yeah, that'll do it. You are skilled. You can't become lost except by magical means. Yeah, that's the one I was looking for.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. You proceed straight to your destination. So it's getting a bit chillier, but eventually you start finding what are essentially the outskirts of Bukhari. Some older stone buildings, some still visible stonework on them, actually. Even a few colored, painted, sort of fresco type pieces still visible on them. Smaller buildings here, but you can see the remnants of some great towers off in the building, off in the distance as you get closer to the city proper of Bukhari. So the city itself, I don't have a map drawn for it because I wasn't sure where you guys were going, and I had limited map drawing time. But the city itself is reasonably large. Offhand, I want to say probably 30 kilometers across. Like it's a full day to cross the fucking thing, or a good day's walking. But you guys are in the western outskirts of it right now, after maybe 4 hours of travel from 4 hours of travel. Within the actual city itself, there's a lot of sun cover, a lot of ruined buildings that will protect you from sun and heat. Do you want to keep going further in? Do you want to try and find some of the adventurers who are staying out here? Or what do you want to do?
I figure if we poke around the ruins, we'll probably run into the cult anyway.
That's an exceedingly optimistic viewpoint.
Nothing if not optimists.
So you want to keep poking through it at night?
No, when it starts getting really dark, it'll start getting cold. So we'll find where to camp.
Yeah, it's about where it's at right now.
Yeah.
It's just cold and dark.
Find a hollow or something to pitch a tent in, and then wait out the worst of that, and then in the pre-dawn twilight, get up, back up, and move again.
All right. Who's on watch during the night?
I mean, all of us, right?
Yeah,
Right.
it's a question of which order.
Right. Sorry. Watch order, please, for the evening. You are, for once, not staying in a protected area.
I assume the ones who can see in the dark should probably do later at night.
Well, no,
Yeah.
we're going to be doing it from dark to dark, so
Oh, okay.
everybody's going to have that. But let's see, we got a drow, half elf, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your character's races.
Human, but I have dark sight.
Okay.
Yeah, they're both human, and then we got the half drow, half elf.
Okay, so I guess it doesn't really matter all that much. So, because you're a half drow, half elf. Yeah, so
Yep.
it's 6-1. I don't know.
I'll take one of the middle watches.
Okay, I'll take the
Yeah,
other middle
second
watch.
Alright.
I'll go 3.
I'll do 2 then.
Whatever's left over.
I assume Bauer takes 4th watch because he's an old man and he'll get up early.
Sure.
It's not inaccurate.
He needs his beauty sleep for that half-orc lady.
The half-orc lady, he didn't even respond.
He's just shy.
I'm too old for this shit.
Fair enough.
How old is Bauer?
Mid to late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's old for an adventurer.
Yeah, he's old as shit.
I feel like late 30s isn't that old.
For an
Yeah.
For
adventurer?
adventurers, yeah.
I mean, I have a character idea I'm going to play at some point for a guy who's like 70.
Oh yeah, I've seen that too.
Is he a wizard?
No.
Usually
Is he a monk?
wizards. Oh
The
yeah,
idea
monks.
is a retired mercenary.
I played a 115-year-old.
Were they human?
Actually, I think she was 125. Somewhere around there.
Yes, but what race was she?
Oh, elf.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
There you go. Okay, yeah. So, during the night, everybody who's on watch, please make me perception checks. So, perception checks all around. Please.
There's some sad rolls from me and Bauer.
Oh, damn, dude. I'm just the way you put that. I'm imagining Howard sitting at the campfire, just telling a story about that one time when his whole unit got snuck up on by this fucking giant.
Which is hilarious since he's 4th watch, which means he's talking to himself.
Hey, he's seen some shit, man.
No, see, I picture it as Diggeroy wakes him up to take his watch so Diggeroy can go back to sleep, and then Bauer just keeps Diggeroy up with his story.
No, he's talking to the things that just poke you in the back. He sees dead people.
Yeah, Bauer continues to regale sleeping Dingeroy with the tales of that one fucking giant who snacks. Oh my god! I just tried like 4 words in a row and none of them were right.
It's that time of the night.
It's yeah. It's been that kind of month. Um, Reno snuck up on his unit. And in true old man fashion, the story keeps going and going and going as it segues into more and more stories. Unfortunately, no one is awake to hear them. So you eventually, Bauer, you see nothing. You're too consumed in telling your own stories. Sadok, Bauer is mumbling stories in his sleep as you're on watch, and so that distracts you a little bit. Occasionally, you catch what sounds like the punchline of a really good one, um, but you're trying to focus on both at the same time, and so you just keep hearing orphaned like punchlines and climaxes. It's a terrible time.
I will be forever haunted by
Truly.
not knowing what the full joke was.
Truly you are. That is okay, though. Oh, Christona, you have a nice quiet night as well. Leroy, you get the feeling that there's something out there watching, though.
But I can't see what.
Nope. You hear like a little bit of whooshing that doesn't quite go with the wind. And there's just like the hairs on the back of your neck are crawling up. Not literally, that would be extremely weird. But figuratively, you have a very strong feeling that something's there during your watch.
I let the next person know, but other than that.
Stona might stay up during the next person's watch after hers just for a little bit to focus on the Earth Communion for a little bit. Then we'll go to sleep.
All right. You stay awake for a little while and keep trying to connect to the Earth. You're in a very earthy place right now. So you're starting to almost feel the tinges of the actual presence of the Earth itself, so to speak. You can't quite commune with it and feel it out in the same way that Garrett describes to you, but you're working. You've had a bit of a breakthrough.
Yay, progress!
All right. So you awaken in the morning. After Digoroy, after you mention it to other people that you sensed something up there, but nobody else senses it as they're on watch. Bauer especially, he doesn't even get the warning. He's too distracted by his stories.
Okay, let's get as much distance as we can before it gets too hot to travel.
Agreed.
Alrighty. So, you can. So basically, before noon, um, say you wake up sunrise, probably around 6-ish. It's midsummer, so 6-ish sounds about right. So
If
call
it's
it you've got a
midsummer,
good
it'll be earlier than that, which is good. And we want to be
Yeah.
waking up like right as it starts to get a little bit lighter.
call it you've got a good 4 hours of traveling.
Yeah.
So that puts you roughly center of the city by the time you've got to call a stop for heat. So as you're heading in, the buildings begin to get more and more extravagant. Some of them, a lot of them are still in ruins. Some places you see marvelous murals that have stood the test of time. In others, you see places where murals once were that have been torn down by adventurers. As you get further and further in, you notice more of the same. You start actually seeing other people as well. They call out and wave to you, and most of them will ask you if you've seen anything good. Anything good out there?
Nothing yet.
Nothing here either.
Not a thing, sir.
We ain't found shit.
Shit, man.
Decided to comb the desert, so we're combing it.
Sorry?
It's a Spaceballs reference. Decided to comb the desert, so we're combing it. The giant combs.
Well, you need a big ass comb.
Yep.
It was pretty big. It was 2 men to move it.
Yep. And one of them was Tuvok from Voyager.
Nice. Alrighty. Are you guys actually like looking at all for things while you're
A
going?
little bit. I mean, we're all the way out here.
I mean, yeah, you're in a treasure hunting place. Might as well do treasure hunting, right?
I mean, it's on the way.
Yes, you're not wrong. So, as you head further on into the city, you stop in more or less the center, and you eventually find yourselves at the foot of a cluster of towers in the center. This place is relative to the outskirts where you started the day, positively a hive of activity. Everywhere you look, there's at least one adventurer um, either digging through the sand or rummaging through one of the towers, or you can hear one shouting to another one about where they've searched. occasionally you'll hear a shout of excitement as somebody unearths an object or some coins that haven't been found before, and they pocket them. Or if they find a trap or puzzle of some kind, there are shouts of alarm.
How has this corpse not been picked clean already?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Are you asking that in character?
I mean, that's his response.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about right, yeah.
My audio die?
Possibly.
Oh no.
I don't know.
I think we all just gotta stop talking at once.
Okay, good to know.
No, I mean, I can give you the historical answer for that out of context if you want to give me a quick history roll. I mean, the TLDR is it's a big damn city, and earnest like treasure hunting in it at all started maybe 30 years ago. But it's a big city, a lot of traps in it, and nobody's really gone. There are still areas of it that nobody can get into, just because nobody's really figured out how yet. Like people know that there are big. People are reasonably sure that there are big vaults under some of these towers. Just nobody knows how to get in.
Okay, but it hasn't actually been here as a buried city for very long.
Oh no, the buried city has been here for like centuries.
But it wasn't buried.
Treasure hunting itself is a relatively new phenomenon in Yualia.
Okay.
Like until a couple of centuries ago, like travel between cities, like what you guys have been doing with Enrin and Aventine, was or even like the Visharad, was like unheard of. Like it was too dangerous. Too dangerous, and
Walked
there was
into
just a lot of
Moana.
fear around it. What?
Walked into the Moana territory.
Uh, uh, um, if we're going that route, there's even a Moana figure.
Nice.
Except instead of an islander girl, it's a essentially Viking named Forskull, whose name is on the fucking strait that you guys have been sailing on.
Sweet.
He features reasonably prominently in that timeline I gave you guys too, actually. Yeah, that's the history version behind it. So yeah, you guys are in the center around the central towers of Bukhari. There are other adventurers all around you guys. What do? Do you just want to rest? Do you want to like rummage about a bit, or what?
I'm thinking rummage about to keep up appearances, but slowly make our way across the city toward where the vultures thought the cultists were.
Okay. Okay.
Roll to rummage.
Sure. Yeah. Roll perception just to rummage about. See if you guys find anything good. Sadok, Bauer, do you guys want to rummage at all, or just proceed? There you go. All right. So Christona and Sadok, you guys unfortunately don't find much of anything. You find a few silver pieces. Take I don't know, 8 silver apiece. Digoroy, you fare slightly better. You manage to find a um, sack of old Bukharian gold coins. So um, there's 25 coins in the sack, but they're old, they're ancient, and they're worth 2 gold apiece. So 50 gold total sack that you find. Bauer, you actually do even better. You find um, another little stash of coins, and you also see a lovely set of murals depicting. So you find a sack of coins. Um, you find a sack of 50 of the old Bukharian coins. That's 100 gold. And you also find a lovely set of murals depicting a man in a very fancy hat and a very nice robe, presenting a to very large clear bottle to a fellow with long black hair and a long black robe over a lanky frame, completely white skin. Yeah, that's fair.
Same.
We can end here. It's about 10.
All right.
You guys are eating across Bukhari towards the cult. You found some lovely treasure. Um, you still there, Bauer? Are you just being very quiet? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, cool. All right. So as good a place to end as any. Yeah. Alrighty. So y'all are heading heading across the desert, going to find a bunch of cultists. I will do my best to manufacture you a good map for next session. Yeah. Questions, comments, concerns?
Gonna be interesting.
Fun anecdotes. Terrible
Anecdotes.
names. Terrible jokes about place names.
Only anecdotes I got is from other stuff.
Has anyone figured out the whole plot reference that Bakari is?
The first thing I think of is Magi, but
I mean, Sunken City's pretty common.
yeah, I really go Magi Labyrinth of Magic, but
Well, we'll
Perhaps as more details come to light, it'll be more obvious.
perhaps, yes. We'll see. It's I'm not familiar with Magi, but if it's how you describe it, may well be inspired by where I pulled a lot of this from.
Yeah.
like it's basically 1001 Arabian Nights inspired.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, there's a. Well, we'll see where it goes. All right. Yeah, I will see you guys next week.
Oh, huh?
I think
What?
it's my turn to give out inspiration.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Obviously, Cristona for the haggling.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was fucking beautiful. Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Hey guys.
Mhm.